I have this notion that everyone at least once in their life has used the phrase blank is the new blank. It's the easiest and boldest way to make your point about the quality of something. Hell, I've said many times myself that Kendrick Lamar is the new Tupac Shakur, and that means something to a lot of people. Now, realistically, this isn't completely true. Kendrick and Tupac aren't perfect matches, but I still think this is a solid comparison to sum up his artistry in one simple sentence. But recently, I had the pleasure of meeting Darren Brazil of IGN, and while chatting, he suggested an interesting claim. Linkin Park is this generation's U2. This was by far the most interesting claim I've heard in a while, because it sounds wild at first, but it has some truth to it. Here's the thing. It's extremely difficult to compare Linkin Park's music to U2's. They're massively different in a lot of ways, but let's just talk about it on a very shallow level of comparison. Technically, they're considered rock bands, but nowadays in a world where Harry Styles is being considered the savior of the genre, that really doesn't mean much of anything anymore. Musically, you can compare Linkin Park to more of a rap metal subspace, and U2 is more of a traditional mixture of pop music and ballads, and it's traditionally a much softer sound. But the more I listen to both bands, the more I realize that this comparison has little to do with the music. It's all about the effect. We live in this weird world where the parts of a piece don't truly matter. It's how it changes and forms the culture. It's this interesting ideology about what happens when the alternative sound or ideas become the standard. When internet media becomes the media. When YouTube videos just become film. It's this interesting weird space we're in. And the most recent idea of this in music is trap music. Trap music refers to a certain style of rap that originated in trap houses down in the South, places where drugs were sold and dealt out. Not only was it a lifestyle for many of these people rapping, but it was all about a certain sound. It couldn't be manufactured because it was real. Gritty, multi-layered, 808 kick-heavy beats defined that sound, and it was truly the music of the specific area and lifestyle at that time. But now skip forward and we have trap music in every facet of American music culture, with Migos' Bad and Bougie being the biggest song of 2016. So let's look at U2 from that lens. It's music that while listening to it is now a classic. But why is that so? Because in my opinion, it set a standard for bands growing up in that era. No group in their generation has ever been as big as U2, selling out massive arenas, over 170 million records sold, and being listed on countless best artists of the generation top 100 lists. It's this interesting thing where as U2 grew and found a distinct sound, so did a full generation. Groups like Kings of Leon, Coldplay, and even Radiohead learned from U2's lessons and their clear growth that they felt within their career, and the evidence is all within the sound of the artists that came after them. The ballads, the political messages, the almost trademarked guitar riffs, it's transformed from just a U2 thing to one that defines an entire genre. No longer was U2 an outsider making a new sound, they were the sound. In that way, Linkin Park is extremely similar to U2, but for an entirely different form of music. Now, while Linkin Park is not necessarily hip-hop full through, it did do more than enough for the genre. For a lot of people, Linkin Park was their tiptoe into the world that is rap music. In the early 2000s, hip-hop was just hitting the mainstream standards. The genre had its ups and downs, but now it was finally finding true mainstream success, and in many ways, Linkin Park was part of that, or for many, the catalyst of the explosion. It didn't create the genre, nor did it cohesively add a huge part to hip-hop, but it did make it much more realistic for bands to adapt that sound as a part of their own, and in turn, put their fans on to that music. It opened a floodgate for artistry and music that we still feel today. That's the thing about Linkin Park. You can debate about the quality of the music as you can say about U2 or any other group, but you can't deny how much pure and utter influence they have on that landscape of music. Linkin Park at its biggest ever was in the early 2000s, and at the height of their career, they created a collaborative album with Jay-Z, introducing many to true rap. For many people who listened to Linkin Park back in the day, the only music they knew was in that one surrounding area. But now they were able to see that hip-hop isn't as far out of a sound. It's something much more attainable for them to listen to, something beautiful in its own way. They were that gateway into a new form of music for many, just like a certain Irish rock band was before them. So is Linkin Park this generation's U2? I don't know if I can say discernibly yes, or discernibly no, but in terms of the music purely, absolutely not. But that's all very boring conversation in my opinion. U2 isn't a one-dimensional group. They're one of free-flowing influences ranging from Irish rock to American blues. Their music runs deep, and deeper is the millions they've changed and helped to expand their music tastes. Both acts brought new and beautiful parts of music to the mainstream while not only helping others, but enriching their own brands. In the same way that U2 became almost a cultural deity and affected millions, so did Linkin Park, using themselves as a gateway to a totally different genre of music that rules the airways and the culture every day and every second. No, Linkin Park did not create hip-hop, it did not even popularize it. I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that, but they did help open some of our minds a little bit more. Through their music, they were able to show that hip-hop is something attainable and something great to listen to, even to the mainstream audience. And maybe, just maybe, if Linkin Park didn't exist, U2 wouldn't have been on that new Kendrick Lamar record.
It's not a place. This country is to me a sound of drum and bass. You close your eyes to look around.
Hail Mary, Jesus and Joseph, the great American flag is wrapped and dragged with explosives. Composed of disorder, sons and daughters, barricaded blacks and borders.